Srimad. His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Grantaraj, Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Jai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. Glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Guru and Gaur. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
O my Lord, Sri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, a all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by Srila Prabhupada, Canto 4, Chapter 30, today's text number 24. Namo Vishuddha Sattvaya.
Namo Vishuddha Sattvaya.
Haraye Harimedhase.
Hare Krishna.
Vasudevaya Krishnaya.
Vasudevaya Krishnaya.
Prabhave Sarvasattvatam.
Prabhave Sarvasattvatam.
Namo Vishuddha Sattvaya.
Namo Vishuddha Sattvaya.
Haraye Harimedhase.
Hare Krishna.
Vasudevaya Krishnaya.
Vasudevaya Krishnaya.
Prabhave Sarvasattvatam.
Prabhave Sarvasattvatam.
Namo Vishuddha Sattvaya.
Namo Vishuddha Sattvaya.
Hare Harimedhase.
Hare Krishna.
Vasudevaya Krishnaya.
Vasudevaya Krishnaya.
Prabhave Sarvasattvatam.
Prabhave Sarvasattvatam.
Bolo.
Namo Vishuddha Sattvaya.
Namo Vishuddha Sattvaya.
Haraye Harimedhase.
Hare
Vasudevaya Krishnaya.
Vasudevaya Krishnaya.
Prabhave Sarvasattvatam.
Prabhave Sarvasattvatam.
Namo Vishuddha Sattvaya.
Namo Vishuddha Sattvaya.
Haraye Harimedhase. Vasudevaya Krishnaya.
Prabhave Sarvasattvatam.
Namo Vishuddha Sattvaya.
Namo Vishuddha Sattvaya.
Hare Harimedhase.
Hare Harimedhase.
Vasudevaya Krishnaya.
Vasudevaya Krishnaya.
Sarvasatmatam.
Prabhave Sarvasatam.
Namo Vishurasatpaya.
Namo Vishurasatpaya.
Haraye Harinedase.
Hare Harinedase.
Vasudevaya Krishnaya.
Vasudevaya Krishnaya.
Bhagave Sarvasatpatam.
Prabhave Sarvasatam.
Namo Vishurasatpaya.
Namo Vishurasatpaya.
Haraye Harinedase.
Hare Harinedase.
Vasudevaya Krishnaya.
Vasudevaya Krishnaya.
Bhagave Sarvasatpatam.
Prabhave Sarvasatam.
Namo Vishurasattvaya
Namo Vishurasatpaya.
Haraye Harinedase
Hare Harinedase.
Vasudevaya Krishnaya
Vasudevaya Krishnaya.
Bhagave Sarvasatam
Prabhave Sarvasatam.
Anyone else? Word for word translations. Namaha. Obeisances. Vishuddha Sattvaya.
Vishurasatpaya.
Unto you whose existence is free from all material influence.
Unto you whose existence is free from all material influence.
Haraye.
Hare
Who takes away all miserable conditions of devotees.
takes away all miserable conditions of devotees.
Harimedase.
Harinedase.
Whose brain works only for the deliverance of the conditioned soul.
Whose brain works for the deliverance of the conditioned soul.
Prabhupada's unique word for word translations. Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
The all-pervading Supreme Personality of Godhead.
The all-pervading Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Krishnaya.
Krishnaya.
Unto Krishna. Prabhave.
Prabhave.
Who increases the influence.
Who increases the influence.
Sarvasattvatam.
Sarvasatam.
Of all kinds of devotees.
All kinds of devotees.
Translation. Dear Lord, we offer our respectful obeisances unto you. This is the Prachetas. Because your existence is completely independent of all material influences. Your Lordship always takes away the devotee's miserable conditions. For your brain plans how to do so. You live everywhere as Paramatma, therefore you are known as Vasudev. You also accept Vasudev as your father, and you are celebrated by the name Krishna. You are so kind that you always increase the influence of all kinds of devotees. Please repeat, Dear Lord, we offer our respectful obeisances unto you.
We offer our respectful obeisances unto you.
Because your existence is completely independent
Because your existence is completely independent
of all material influences.
of all material influences.
Your Lordship always takes away
Your Lordship always takes away
the devotee's miserable conditions,
the devotee's miserable conditions.
for your brain plans how to do so.
Where your brain plans how to do so.
You live everywhere as Paramatma,
You live everywhere as Paramatma.
therefore you are known as Vasudev.
Therefore you are known as Vasudev.
You also accept Vasudev as your father,
You also accept Vasudev as your father.
and you are celebrated by the name Krishna.
You are celebrated by the name Krishna.
You are so kind that you always increase
You are so kind that you always increase
the influence of all kinds of devotees.
the influence of all kinds of devotees.
Prabhupada's very extensive purport. It runs 2+ pages. Purport. In the previous verse, it has been said, Grihitamaya guna vigrahaya that the Lord accepts three kinds of bodies, Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva, for the purposes of creating, maintaining, and annihilating the cosmic manifestation. The three predominating deities of the material universe, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, are called guna avatars. There are many kinds of incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the first incarnations within this material world are Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwar, Shiva. Prabhupada has said that 3 times now in the first few sentences. Out of these 3, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva accept material bodies, but Lord Vishnu does not accept a material body. Lord Vishnu is therefore known as Vishuddha Sattva. His existence is completely free from the contamination of the material modes of nature. One should therefore not think that Lord Vishnu is in the same category with Lord Brahma and Shiva. The Shastras forbid us to think in this way. Yastu Narayanam Devam Brahmarudrari Daivatai Samatve Naiva Viksheta Sapashandi Bhavedhruvam. One who considers Lord Vishnu to be in the same category with Devas, like Lord Brahma or Lord Shiva, or who thinks Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva to be equal to Lord Vishnu, is to be considered as Pashandi, faithless non-believer. Therefore, in this verse, Lord Vishnu is distinguished in the words, Namo Vishuddha Sattvaya. Although a living entity like us, Lord Brahma is exalted due to his pious activities, therefore he is given the high post of Brahma. Lord Shiva is not actually like a living entity, but he is not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His position is somewhere between Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Brahma, the living entity. Lord Shiva is therefore explained in Brahma Samhita 5:45 in this way. Kshiram yatada devikara vishesha yoga sanjayate nahitatak pritagasti hetu yak shambhutam apitata sambupaiti karya govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Lord Shiva is considered to be like yogurt. Nadi. Yogurt is nothing but transformed milk. Nonetheless, yogurt cannot be accepted as milk. Similarly, Lord Shiva holds all the powers of Lord Vishnu, and he is also above the qualities of the living entity. But he is not exactly like Vishnu, just as yogurt, although transformed milk, is not exactly like milk. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is also described herein as Vasudevaya Krishnaya. Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, and all Vishnu expansions are his plenary portions, or portions of his plenary portions, known as Svangsha and Kala. The Svangsha, or direct expansion, is also called Anksha. All Vishnu Tattvas are Svangsha, direct parts and parcels of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Krishna is known as Vasudeva because he appeared in this material world as the son of Vasudeva. Similarly, he is known as Devaki Nandana, Yashoda Nandana, Nanda Nandana, and so on. Again and again, the Lord is very much interested in increasing the influence of his devotees. Therefore, he is described herein as Prabhave Sarva Sattvatam. The Sattvata community is a community of Vaishnavas, pure devotees of the Lord. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has unlimited powers, and he wants to see that his devotees are also entrusted with unlimited powers. Listen to that again. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has unlimited powers, and he wants to see that his devotees are also entrusted with unlimited powers. A devotee of the Lord is always, therefore, distinguished from all other living entities. The word Hari means, quote, one who takes away all miserable conditions. And Harimedase means that the Lord is always planning ways to deliver the conditioned soul from the clutches of Maya. The Lord is so kind that he personally incarnates to deliver the conditioned souls, and whenever he comes, he makes his plans. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam dharma samstapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Quote, to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to reestablish the principles of religion, I invent myself millennium after millennium. Close quote, Gita 4:8. Since the Lord delivers all conditioned souls from the clutches of Maya, he is known as Hari Medhas. In the list of incarnations, Krishna is described as the supreme and original personality of Godhead. Ete chang sakalat pungsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Mridayanti Yuge Yuge. Bhagavatam 1:328. Krishna, the original personality of Godhead, appears in this material world when the demigods, who are devotees of the Lord, are disturbed by the demons. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master is kindly opening my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Wow, Prabhupada really hit a lot of point. He was just dissecting that verse line by line. So I thought we could look at those lines too, and maybe see what we take away from that. So this is the Prachetas. They're continuing to pray to Lord Vishnu. They're going to continue doing this until text 26, and they're going to start very carefully and slowly asking for a boon, because the Lord says, ask for me any boon that you want. Starting text 8. And then he started giving them boons anyway. But now they're gonna ask for a boon. It's coming up. So Namo Vishuddha Sattvaya. The Lord is beyond the material influence. We're all conditioned souls. We're influenced by the modes of material nature until we take shelter of the Lord sufficiently so that we can be beyond the modes. And then, and this is really interesting, Hari Medase. He said it a little differently in the translation and then in the word for word. Your Lordship always takes away the devotee's miserable conditions, for your brain plans how to do so. And then in the word, what did he say? Hare, who takes away all miserable conditions of devotees. Hare Medase, whose brain works only for the deliverance of the conditioned soul. Sometimes we hear Prabhupada say, yeah, Krishna has a brain, he has a form, he has personality. He does things, he's not simply some amorphous energy, right? So, I'm just curious how you hear that line. Translation, Prabhupada says, your Lordship always takes away the devotee's miserable conditions, for your brain plans how to do so.
Isn't Medase mean brain substance?
Yeah, that's in Krishna Varnam verse.
Yeah.
Those who engage of Kali, those with sufficient brain substance, worship the Lord.
I Medase means or brain.
Yeah.
Which is doing the activity of Hari.
Okay. Yes.
That's how I bring it.
Hari. Yes. Hari. He takes away our misery.
Thinks about how to take away Hari.
Yeah. Okay. So you've further dissected that, Chris.
So I've always had a question about Prabhupada's terminology, which I don't know if it's also general, like Hindu terminology, but the terms brain, mind, intelligence, there's another one. Well, I would say like inspiration, like these are different levels of thought.
Consciousness,
or thinking. And I think of brain as purely physical, like it's your brain cells, your neurons.
Yeah.
And then the next one above that, I would call intelligence, which I would say is the same as what he's meaning by the word brain here, like Krishna's using his brain to protect the devotees. So that's, so I think of intelligence as a material world, ego connected kind of activity.
Yeah, Krishna says the same thing, actually.
And then I think of mind. I learned this term from Buddhism. Mind is higher than intelligence because it's more about your purpose. Intelligence is like technical. It's like intelligence is like reading and writing and arithmetic. You know? Whereas mind is more like philosophy.
Well, I mean, Krishna says something different in the Gita, but I know what you're getting at.
But that's just how I think of my understanding of these words, like what they mean. And then above
it's like mindfulness. That's what Buddhists talk a lot about. It's about being intentional and be focused.
Yeah.
But
mind is also still individual. It's like your individual thought process, your individual worldview, whatever. And then above that would be inspiration, which is inspired from spirit, which is more transcendent. So that's where your soul comes in, and you're connecting to a larger mind or a larger consciousness, and then that's where you're connecting with Krishna.
Okay, well, Krishna says something similar in the third chapter. Anybody know toward the end of the third?
Krishna says in English, he says that
the senses.
The senses are higher than gross matter and higher than the senses. Is the mind higher than the mind? Is the intelligence higher than the intelligence? The false ego higher than yet is the soul.
Yeah, Indriyani Paranyahur, Indriyabhya Param Manaha. That's the Manasastu Para Buddhir. Buddhi. It's like an analytical. That's what Chris was saying. Like
intelligence means intel, Prabhupada. So we mean spiritual intelligence in the sense Prabhupada says that you have real knowledge and you understand what is matter, what is spirit.
And who's the controller of both?
Intel means information. Intelligence is the holder of information. And based on that information, discern the mental chaos.
Okay, let me just read the last two, because Krishna's, I mean, we can have our takes and our applications in the material world, but ultimately we have to see everything through Krishna's eyes. He says, the working senses are superior to dull matter. Mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence is still higher than the mind. And he, the soul, is even higher than the intelligence. And then he finishes the chapter by saying, thus, knowing oneself to be transcendental to the material senses, mind, and intelligence, O mighty armed Arjuna, one should steady the mind by deliberate spiritual intelligence, and then Prabhupada brackets, Krishna consciousness. And thus, by spiritual strength, conquer this insatiable enemy known as lust. This is the final thing. Last word Krishna is giving Arjuna about how to conquer lust, the desire to enjoy the material world, which actually segues nicely into the next point I want to bring up. So the challenge, so Hari made us say, the Lord takes away the devotee's miserable conditions. Now we have a problem. Our challenge is, we want the Lord to take away our miseries without taking away our desire to enjoy the material world. This is really the problem. I don't want to suffer, but I'm still holding out here. I still want to enjoy the material world, and that's incompatible. We really have to uproot that. So purification what purification really means is to burn up our material desire. And that's painful. It can be painful because we've been attached to so long. So you're attached to something, and then Krishna wants us to practice tapasya, no illicit sex, no intoxication, no gambling, no meat eating, rising early, doing all the things that we do to practice sadhana bhakti. So, but that's the choice. Tapo divyam putraka yena shunyeta sarya. Prabhupada says, quoting Lord Rishabdev. So the mental pain of letting go. But that's the challenge we have as aspiring Vaishnavas. Okay, that was Hari Veda say. And then the third line is Vasudevaya Krishnaya. So it's kind of a double meaning, which is also Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. It's the same idea. Pracheta's double meaning is that Vasudevaya means, what does it mean? Vasudeva Sarvamiti.
Vasudeva.
No, Vasudeva Sarvamiti.
Oh.
That meaning in Gita. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Bahunam Janmanam Ante. After many births and deaths, he was actually in knowledge.
Vasudeva is everything.
Yeah, he's everything and everywhere. And that's how he is as the super soul. But then it says Vasudevaya Krishnaya. Then it's very personal, because the super soul is only it's only one aspect of the absolute truth. Krishnaya. So when you say Krishnaya, then you're speaking of Krishna, who's the son of Vasudeva, which is very personal. He's everywhere, but he's somewhere. He's not just everywhere. Prabhupada, mocks the impersonalists. The impersonalists say that God is everywhere except on the altar. But he's also on the altar. And then he's not there now, but he was there as Damodar. And he's there in so many forms. Yeah. It's a very poetic way that the Prachetas, Vasudevaya Krishnaya. And then, Prabhave Sarvasatvatam. The Prachetas say that the Lord is so kind, he always increases the influence of all kinds of devotees. This is Krishna. He's always trying to glorify the devotees, or just like even in the material world, parents want to see their children excel, exceed, and even surpass them, right? It's just the opposite of the material world, where everything is based on envy. Just like yesterday, what day was it in America? It was an election day. So, if you follow the news, you know that one party won big all across America. So what does the other party do rather than concede it? What do they say? Oh, it's all fraudulent. It was rigged. The whole thing was rigged. This is the material world. If somebody's surpassing me or defeating me, I'm not acknowledging that. I just want to say, you cheated. You cheated. Right. But Krishna's not like that. He loves to credit his devotees and expand their influence. What did it say? So that you always increase the influence of all kinds of devotees. So when I read that, I thought of a famous way that Krishna did that with a famous devotee who appeared earlier in this canto. Well, in this canto. Yeah, that's true. But I thought of this canto. Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj is an outstanding example of one whose influence increased like the Lord's, but he didn't do that right away. First, Dhruva had to surrender. And as we, similarly, that's a takeaway for us, as we surrender, Krishna will, empower us to do amazing things that are just beyond what we could do on our own. Whose influence increased like the Lord's as he gradually surrendered to the Lord's will. So I want to read you, I mean, this is really, and we've already read this, months ago, but there's 2 verses where Prabhupada talks about this in the pastime. It's in Dhruva Maharaj leaves home, right? We all know the pastime. He left home. Suniti said, I can't help you. And Suruchi sees the favorite queen, but I think only God can help you. So you might have to, and the sages say they find God in the forest. So he goes. So then he was so determined, that Kshatriya blood coursing through his veins, and telling Narada Muni, yeah, I'm not going to go home, like you say, and tolerate, accept it philosophically. I'm a Kshatriya. And whatever it takes, bring it on. Bring it. So, okay. So then he gave a mantra. What was the mantra he gave him? Yeah, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And he did that with such intensity that, and with tapas. I'm forgetting now, Narada Muni told him to do that tapas. Remember gradually reducing everything, eating and sleeping and drinking, and then finally was hardly breathing. Okay, instead, okay, I'm just going to read you this verse. It's 2 verses, 79 and 80. As Dhruva Maharaj, the king's son, who was his father? Uttanapad, kept himself steadily standing on one leg. The pressure of his big toe pushed down half the earth. The pressure of his big toe. Just as an elephant being carried on a boat rocks the boat left and right with his every step. Okay, so now in the purport, Prabhupada really gets into this. Purport. The most significant expression in this verse is Partivar Bakaha, son of the king. When Dhruva Maharaj was at home, okay, this is before now, when he was at home, although he was the king's son, he was prevented from getting on the lap of his father. But when he became advanced in self-realization or devotional service, so before he couldn't do anything, he couldn't even sit in the lap of his father. But then when he surrendered to a spiritual master and did all this tapas in his master's service, by the pressure of his toe, he could push down the whole earth. That is the difference between ordinary consciousness and Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness means to expand our consciousness. In ordinary consciousness, a king's son may be refused something even by his father. And then the kids help us, he can't. But when the same person becomes fully Krishna conscious within his heart, he can push down the earth with the pressure of his toe. Listen to this. Then Prabhupada, he anticipates that we're thinking, huh? So then he starts a new paragraph. One cannot argue, quote, how is it that Dhruva Maharaj, who was prevented from getting up on the lap of his father, could press down the whole earth? This argument is not very much appreciated by the learned. For an example of Nagna Matrika logic. Anybody know what Nagna Matrika means? It means the logic of the naked mother. It means just because the mother, when she was a little baby, was running naked, does that mean she should run naked now? No, because she's mature, she's grown up. So this is called, this is the fault of Nagna Matrika logic. By this logic, one would think that because his mother in her childhood was naked, she should remain naked even when she is grown up. The stepmother of Dhruva Maharaj might have been thinking in a similar way. What can you do, kid? Right? So spiteful. Since she had refused to allow him to get up on the lap of his father, how could Dhruva perform such wonderful activities as pressing down the whole earth? She must have been very surprised when she learned that Dhruva Maharaj, by concentrating constantly on the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart, could press down the entire earth like an elephant who presses down the boat on which it is loaded. Now it gets better. Text 80 is even better. Listen to this. And it's all about what happens as we become Krishna conscious. Text 80, translation. When Dhruva Maharaj became practically one in heaviness with Lord Vishnu, because he was so synced, linked in with Krishna's consciousness. When Dhruva Maharaj became practically one in heaviness with Lord Vishnu, the total consciousness, due to his fully concentrating and closing all the holes of his body, the total universal breathing became choked up, and all the great demigods in all the planetary systems felt suffocated and thus took shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that was, that's, yeah, they went, in the next verse, they said, what is this? What's going on here? But listen to the purport of this verse. When hundreds of persons are sitting in an airplane, this is an amazing example Prabhupada gives. Although they remain individual units, to help us understand this whole idea of individual consciousness and supreme consciousness linked. So we're sitting in a plane, and we're individuals. They each share the total force of the airplane, which runs at thousands of miles per hour. Actually, that's hundreds, but anyway, to get the idea. Similarly, when unit energy is identified with the service of the total energy, the unit energy becomes as powerful as the total energy. As explained in the previous verse, Dhruva Maharaj, because of his spiritual advancement, became almost the total heaviness, and thus he pressed down the whole earth. Moreover, by such spiritual power, his unit body became the total body of the universe. Thus, when he closed the holes of his unit body to firmly concentrate his mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this is what mystic yogis do, all the units of the universe, namely all the living entities, including the big demigods, felt the pressure of suffocation. They couldn't breathe, they were choking, as if their breathing were being choked. Therefore, they all took shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because they were perplexed as to what had happened. What's going on here? We can't breathe. Now listen to this last paragraph, Prabhupada. And this example of Dhruva Maharaj's closing the holes of his personal body and thereby closing the breathing holes of the total universe clearly indicates that a devotee, by his personal devotional service, his unit, think of it as individual unit, right? But this is a pure devotee who's totally dovetailed with the supreme will. By his personal devotional service, can influence all the people of the whole world to become devotees of the Lord. If there is only one pure devotee in pure Krishna consciousness, he can change the total consciousness of the world into Krishna consciousness. You just imagine what kind of devotee that is. Well, guess who? This is not very difficult to understand if we study the behavior of Dhruva Maharaj. So, I mean, when Prabhupada came, that's what he did. And gradually, it's happening, right? One person personally practically turning back the tide of Kali Yuga because he was totally surrendered. Nacho, Prabhu, make me dance, or maybe dance as you like. So, of course, we can't imitate that, but we can, as we surrender to Srila Prabhupada, the Lord Krishna, and the movement he created, we can also have great effect in the world. Great effect. So that's what I took from Prabhave Sarva Sattvatam. You are so kind that you always increase the influence of all kinds of devotees. So I'm going to read the whole verse again. If you have any questions or reflections, please share with us. Dear Lord, this is the Prachetas. We offer our respectful obeisances unto you because your existence is completely independent of all material influences. Your Lordship always takes away the devotee's miserable conditions, for your brain plans how to do so. You live everywhere as Paramatma, therefore you are known as Vasudeva. You also accept Vasudeva as your father, and you are celebrated by the name Krishna. You are so kind that you always increase the influence of all kinds of devotees. Right. Questions, comments, reflections, appreciations? Yes.
Yeah.
So
Many times I've just noticed, and I think it's been cleared up for me sufficiently, like how devotees get the buddhi confused, like intelligence. And what helped me was when you understand Prabhupada used that word intelligence which comes from the word intel, which means information.
That's a Latin word, intelligent.
Intelligentsia is Latin. So, but that intel means information. And so material intelligence is information about computers and, whatever, A through B. But spiritual intelligence means genuine intel. Krishna gives us the objects of knowledge, right? There's buddhi, and then what's the Sanskrit? Jnana and gyaya. Jnana, no, for knowledge, which is the object of that intelligence, which is right, humility, pridelessness, nonviolence. And so when someone knows they're not this body and they have knowledge of God and devotional service, some people are born with more of that knowledge than others. They have more intelligence. So Prabhupada, if you notice, every time he uses that word, he's referring to those people who are able to extricate themselves from this material energy. And it's kind of a misunderstood thing. So that intelligence is that knowledge by which you can discern the mind, because the mind is the process of accepting and rejecting, right? So the mind is saying, smoke a cigarette, and the intelligence is saying, I don't want to smoke a cigarette, that's bad for me. So in a similar way, the mind is presenting so many material menu items, and the intelligence is what tells us not to have illicit sex or, eat meat, because we have intelligence. We understand that these are going to entangle me in the material energy. So in that way, intelligence is cutting through the mind. And so Krishna gives us that tesham satatam yuktanam, but that the dami buddhi. He gives us that spiritual intelligence by which we can, not make decisions based on the mind.
To those who are, he gives the intelligence to those who are what?
Constantly devoted.
Constantly devoted.
Satatam yuktanam.
Yeah, Krishna's not impressed. I mean, Krishna has unlimited intelligence, unlimited beauty, unlimited wealth, unlimited everything. So what does Krishna not have? Our love. He likes to exchange love. So that's what he wants. There's nothing that we really have that isn't just borrowed plumes. It's a little fragment, tiny little bit of his energy. But he loves to exchange love. Yes, Chris.
So just for purposes of making the preaching more effective, it seems like there's just one very slight misunderstanding that people in the normal society think of the word mind usually as higher than what you're saying, Kirtaneshwar.
Wait a minute, we've already I don't want to revisit that. We've established, Krishna established.
No, I'm not criticizing the vocabulary that Prabhupada's using. I'm just saying there's a big difference in the vocabulary that Prabhupada's using between that and the mainstream American society. So most Americans, I would say, use the word mind in a high way, like a higher way, like it's a philosophical level. And Prabhupada seems to be using the word mind as more on a false ego level.
Mind is philosophical. Mind is philosophical because the mind is the element. Prabhupada says that those who are living on the mental platform are the philosophers and scientists.
Yeah.
So the intelligence is beyond. Intelligence is something very rare. Buddha yoga is rare. I mean, from the perspective of spiritual life, intelligence means those practicing yoga. It means they understand they're not this body. They understand spiritual reality. So I mean, this isn't very much, misunderstood. And I agree with you. The people don't have any idea that there's a difference between mind and intelligence. I mean, Prabhupada is translating best he can, so we have our understanding, but it's been working, But yeah, I think you're right. Most people in America don't have any discernment as to what is mind. They don't really have any intelligence anyway. So.
What I'm saying is not about the concepts of what you're saying the concepts are about mind and intelligence. It's simply the choice of those two words.
That's why we have to explain it to them.
Well, we need different words, really. We need better words that are not the same as the words
I
in
think Prabhupada's
context.
been more effective than you in spreading Krishna consciousness.
Wait a minute.
That's ridiculous. I'm not criticizing Prabhupada whatsoever. I'm just saying that if you want to connect with the college students at U of A and you say the word intelligence, they have a very definite meaning for that word, which is not Prabhupada's meaning at all. And if you keep saying that word to them, they're going to misunderstand you. And if you keep listening to them say that word to you when they mean something else, you're going to misunderstand them. That's all I'm saying.
Wait. This sounds like a topic for the code. Take a little
language.
survey.
It's just about language.
Take a survey amongst the students, or just go out when you go to UA next time. Just ask them, what do you?
Ask them what they mean. Ask them to expand that word. Like instead of just using the same one word over and over again, ask them to expand it and say what they mean by it.
Okay, this is a rabbit hole. Okay. All right. I think we've any other reflections on the verse or the purport? Yes, Chandrika.
I was thinking about how, Krishna fulfills our desires when we feel we want some sort of, I guess, material happiness or connection with, a partner or whatever, happiness. But sometimes those desires that we have that get fulfilled turn into the miserable conditions, as you were talking about. So is it that Krishna gives and Krishna takes away, with the miserable conditions that gets
If we
taken? First it's
insist,
given.
I mean, if we're desiring something that's bad for us, Krishna will try to, give us hints that we don't really want to do this, but he's not going to touch our free will. Sometimes he gives us enough rope to hang ourselves. I have personal experience.
But sometimes it's like, we've been given that and it's been good for us, but it can turn into a miserable condition.
Yeah, that's true. We always have free will. So if we're not so steady in our progressive surrender, what was good at one point, it might be turned bad for us if we misuse it. Utility is the principle. If we're using something in Krishna's service, that's good. That's good because it's all Krishna's energy. But then if we start to use it for our own, and that was in 438. Let's look at that. That was the 8th verse. I think I even touched on this when I gave a class on that verse. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, the famous verse where the Lord says, "I'm so pleased with you, Prachetas, with your mutual friendship. Now, because you're friendly, now you may ask a benediction of me because you're friendly, you're cooperating to serve me." And then Prabhupada says in the purport, this unity between individual souls is so strong within this material world that even in a society of Krishna consciousness, members sometimes appear disunited due to having different opinions, which is fine because we're individuals, and leaning toward material things. So if in the course of using things in Krishna's service, we actually start to use them for ourselves because it's an old habit, right? We just get over, that's how Maya works. She's very subtle, so she knows where we're weak. So yeah, this is good. You can use it. But then she turns it, like you said, turns. And then it starts to turn us in the wrong direction. But luckily, if we're living in a society of devotees, we quickly we get purified and corrected, and we learn the error of our ways. I have personal experience, Prabhu. Okay. Yes, Kirtaneshwar.
I was thinking about, Krishna, he fulfills desires so fast if they're spiritual, but for material desires, I just notice in my own, like you're saying, it gives enough rope to hang yourself. Like if a devotee has a material desire, Krishna always does something to like cause you immense pain and make you lose that desire. I mean, it is like, there's patterns, you start to see these patterns with devotees, like things that happen, with devotees. And it's like Krishna's like running a program, he's like, run the program, run the life destruction program, with, and it just seems interesting to me because Krishna won't fulfill, Chaitanya Charitamrita says, if some devotee, Lord Chaitanya says, if my devotee has some desire that's, going to be detrimental to him, I won't fulfill the desire of such a foolish person. And so if we have some material desire, something that's not just pure devotional service, and we're not able to handle it, Krishna won't fulfill it.
Or he'll fulfill it, and like you say, it'll be so painful. I have personal experience that now I get it. You didn't want me to do that. Yeah, that's why it turned out like this. I thought I was going to live happily ever after with this, but it's so painful. Oh God, yeah.
That's why Gaurasundar Prabhu said nicely yesterday. Like the mind is like a bad child. If you have a really bad child, the child always embarrasses the family. So if your mind is out of control, you always end up embarrassed.
Yeah.
Find yourself in embarrassing situations.
That's right. Oh boy, big time. Okay, and now anybody have any other comments or questions? Okay, it's time for Prasad. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. And tomorrow Hari Leela will do text 25.